Welcome to Film Strip. These podcasts are spoiler-filled as we discuss the plots, characters, and themes of the films in review. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504(c)(2), Title 17.
Welcome to Film Strip. I'm Jay.
And I'm Junior, a.k.a. Nick.
And we're here to talk about Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre III.
Dun, dun, dun.
Starring Kate Hodge, William Butler, Ken Foray, Tom Hudson, Joe Unger, R.A. Millehoff, and Viggo Mortensen. Directed by Jeff Burr, written by David Show. Released in 1990 on a $2 million budget. Actually grossed $5.7 million at the box office. Because it was released in January, I say. So, yeah. This is when New Line Cinema, with all their Freddy money, started snatching up different horror properties. And Texas Chainsaw was in that wave of things, and this was what they came out with. But not before it got a lot of cuts from the MPAA and several other people. You can tell this movie's chopped to hell and back. But that was the era of the chopped to hell and back horror movie in the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah, can't get that NC-17 rating, or maybe it was even X back then. But
yeah, it was X.
Yeah, it's definitely, you can get that feeling throughout the movie that there was a lot probably left on the cutting room floor. Whether it makes it a better movie or not, that's,
to be determined.
Yeah, that's up to your imagination, I guess. But it's just, when watching this, you know what vibe I got?
What was that?
Hellraiser 3.
Oh, really?
I got a Hellraiser 3 vibe, where it was none of the feel of the first two. It was more slick. Mm-hmm. And I guess you could say like slick early 90s horror movies, which obviously everybody's like, well, no shit, Nick, that's what it is.
Yeah.
But it's like, it really falls into that vein of just movies that were very, very forgettable at the time.
Oh.
And I think it's funny too, because I have seen this movie as far as like rankings of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, I see nobody talk about this movie.
Yeah.
Outside of like, oh yeah, Viggo Mortensen's in it, and that's it. So I had like no idea what I was in for or what we were going to be watching when I decided to get my Cinemax free trial on Amazon Prime and not have to pay for this. So that was a great move by me.
I rented this for actual dollars. I will say I think Voodoo is where I got this from, or one of those. But yeah, it's not the worst thing I've ever rented on any service. But I can't say I had a lot of fond memories of this one. In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it more than once before, and that was back years ago when I did my big Chainsaw rewatch or whatever. Back when the beginning was coming out or something like that. So I've only ever seen it once, and I remember most about this one, the trailer for it, though, because it was a ripoff of Excalibur. You have this hulking human standing by the river, which is supposedly Kane Hodder, by the way.
Mm-hmm. I read that.
Yeah, and
they should have just got him to play Leatherface.
Well, he was busy doing Jason stuff. The guy that plays Leatherface is a friend of his, and they're in a paranormal investigation group together nowadays, by the way. But anyway, they have this guy standing there, and all of a sudden this lady brings this stainless steel chainsaw up from the river. It's hilarious. You got to watch it, y'all. Like, it's one of the best trailers ever, because it has absolutely nothing to do with the movie you're about to watch.
Well, from what I read, they did the trailer even before they shot the movie. It was like something that was completely done ahead of time just to try to get people in the mood for this and, whatever. But
I think it's to remind them what the hell this is, because it's been years since Leatherface was a thing. And you got to remember, VHSs and stuff had only become popular in the mid-'80s, right? So, I mean, maybe there were a few, horror hounds out there that had gone back and rented the first Texas Chainsaw. Maybe a few people had done the second one. I don't think it had seen its hipster resurgence at this point, but yeah, this was not one that people talked about, and they don't talk about it much now. Like, it's not well remembered at all, and probably for good reason, because, as we'll get into. But I guess we should go ahead and hit them up with a plot, all right? So, we have the most unlikable brother and sister ever, Michelle and Ryan, setting out from California to Florida to drive their father's car and deliver it for him with a lot of miles on it, but used to do these things. This is also the setup of The Hitcher, by the way. And they stumble across, in Texas, the gas station and a crazy person with a shotgun who all turns out to be part of the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre family. It's like Leatherface escaped from the first movie, is what the opening crawl tells us. And they've, caught all the rest of them and put them in jail, and they blamed it all on the cook. But Leatherface apparently found him a new group of psychos to hang out with. And I don't want to say hilarity ensues, but a lot of insanity ensues. There's a little girl who may or may not be parentaged by one of these people. Viggo Mortensen shows up as kind of the talkative, crazy brother. You have a version of the hitchhiker. There's no Chop Top. There is a grandma, though, with a hilarious voice box. And anyway, it all goes down where there's murder and mayhem happening. We repeat the wonderful dinner scene, because apparently that's going to be in every one of these movies now. Mm-hmm. And but you know what? Michelle ultimately escapes and kills a lot of these people on the way. She finds an automatic rifle and goes insane because there's this guy who played by Ken Foree, who was riding his Jeep and flipped it over out there in the middle of damn nowhere, who shows up and gets a big fight on. Almost everybody gets killed except, of course, Leatherface. And Michelle reaches the main road. She kills the original crazy guy with the shotgun, and her and Benny drive off in the stolen, I guess it's a mechanic's truck, while Leatherface, with a broken leg, does the chainsaw dance in the middle of the Texas heat. And that's, I don't know that there is a coherent way to describe the plot of this movie, Nick. It just sort of, a lot of the same things happen that happen in all of these movies. They just happen a lot slower and weirder than what we've had before.
It just seems like almost every single one of these is a remake of the first one. Yeah. It's just, in some way, like, it'll be a new little spin on it, maybe new, a couple new characters here, new and, protagonists, but for the most part, it's going to be the same thing where we're going to have the protagonists, driving out through Texas. They're going to get tricked into going down some back alley road. They're going to end up getting stranded. People are going to die until we have the lone female left. We're going to have a dinner scene, and then there's going to be an escape, and then they're going to get out of there. And either, from the second one, Dennis Hopper killed them all, or, grenade killed them all. But either way, it's someone dancing at the end with like a chainsaw. Like, that's kind of like what is like been occurring. But one thing I found interesting here is like reading the, not reading, but listening to the narrative that opens these up, because that's another thing, is we need an opening narrative with the, I guess it's supposed to be like old school camera sounds opening, like
all the flash bolts. Yeah, we're still replaying that original soundtrack. Yeah,
it makes no sense for the time period, or even the time period it was. I always picture those as being like the really old school. Like, you ever seen The Aviator? Like when he's like walking down the red carpet and they're like the bulbs are cracking.
Yeah, the old
yeah, like to me, like that's like mid-early 1900s. Mm-hmm. Like, not now, but whatever. But the whole thing is that we're supposed to ignore Texas Chainsaw 2 happened, even though this is called Texas Chainsaw 3. Is that the right way?
See, the thing is, though, they act like that, oh no, that did happen, maybe. But really what they're trying to come off of is that first movie again. But what they want to do is they do this whole true story angle crap again. But there was a trial, and we put the family on trial, but there was no Leatherface. It was just an alternate identity of the main
Who did they
guy.
put in jail?
They put them all in jail. They apparently executed them. This is Texas. So, it was Chop Top, I guess, what was left of him. There was no grandpa, apparently. It was all the cook. He just had multiple personalities, is what they blamed it on. It's like this big cover-up is what they go with. And then, nobody knows what happened to the chainsaw-wielding maniac, but everybody thinks that, it was just, an apparition or whatever.
He survived that wound of the chainsaw through the gut.
Leg?
The second one, no, he got pretty much in ball or.
That's what I'm saying. Like they say, like, there were reports of other things around the state, but those are all largely, dismissed or whatever. They'll play that again. This next movie will do that too. But the first one, really, the opening crawl builds off the idea that all of it was the cook.
I think it's just a better idea to just go with, like, people in backcountry Texas areas are really fucked up. This is just the way they are.
That's what they're saying here, is because Leatherface finds a whole new group of wackos to hang out with.
Yeah, I guess. And I'm thinking, like, maybe this is even like a new Leatherface. Like, these are just like, there's just these guys.
Well, we open up, though. The opening bit after that is Leatherface chasing these two girls through the woods, right? And he kills one of them and cuts her face off while her sister watches from a nearby window. So like he is kidnapping people just randomly.
Maybe it's like an FBI conspiracy, and this is all set up for stuff.
Hold that thought. We'll come back to that in another show. But yeah, this one though plays off of something else that's even ickier, I think, because there's a little girl that's part of the bait and trap of this time, and the way they talk about it and refer to her, and Viggo Mortensen says something like, "He sure does make pretty girls." Apparently, Leatherface is like fathering children now.
So,
which is really good.
So we're adding like a rape angle and
but like rape, incest, raise a murderer because the little girl wants to kill people.
It's almost like Hills Have Eyes type thing or whatever I guess they're doing now. But yeah. Let's just get to the beginning of this movie. So again, we get it almost starts off like the second one where you get the two people in the car. Excuse me, you've got two people in the car and they're just bickering back and forth. They're siblings? I thought they were boyfriend and girlfriend.
They're siblings.
See, I swear they talked about their relationship, but again, it's the South, so maybe it's both. I don't know.
I mean, it's really weird. So it's
and we do live in the South for anybody listening to this. So we can make those comments.
I mean, I took them more as a couple as well, but. Apparently they're really close. There's that couple that begins Jeepers Creepers and they're brother and sister, but there's a lot of weird chemistry between them too, so I don't know. But they're driving the car and it's dad's like tricked out old Mercedes. Like if the kids from License to Drive had taken grandpa's car and were delivering it cross country, which that makes no sense at all, but whatever. Again, it's the Hitcher setup. We're going to drive a car to deliver it.
I like License to Drive. I'm just going to go on the record and say
it's a better movie than this one, but I mean, yeah, we have these people. Michelle and Ryan, though, have Kate Hodge and William Butler have not even chemistry, Nick. They have like nothing between them.
Well, he just kind of comes off like a poor man's
whiny jerk.
Yeah, he's
Skippy from Family Ties.
I thought he was just a bad Ducky wannabe from Pretty in Pink or whatever it is, Pretty in Pink.
Yeah, it's Pretty in Pink. Yeah,
there's two of those Molly Ringwald movies. But yeah, no, that's just kind of how he came off. But the whole setup here is that they're driving through Texas. They're going from the West Coast down to Florida. Yeah, we're taking this road trip, delivering this car, and during this time they happen to be a part of there's a crime scene that gets investigated, sounds like a big mud pit full of cannibal or corpses, which I'm going back and I'm like, if this is Leatherface, would they eat the meat? That seems like a waste for them.
Yeah, no,
have you seen meat prices in the liquor in the grocery store? It's like you do not waste meat like that. Okay.
No, even in the 1980s and early 90s.
You don't. But
neither would these people. I'm with you. There would be a bone pit. It would be like the killing fields, and they would be cleaned. They would not be full of rotting carcasses. By the way, did you catch the reporter? Stretch from part 2. So that's why they're saying part 2 is in continuity too. She grew up to become an investigative reporter type.
All connected. It's like the MCU before the MCU.
Well, and about as badly constructed in some points too. But yeah, I felt that probably was more of a wink and a nod. But now the actress says, no, that's Stretch. We're like, yeah, okay, you sell that for an extra picture at the con you're at, but sure. But, it is a ridiculous premise because that's all happening because of the big wreck that we see with this Benny character, right? Because he's part of this whole other side of town that he's driving his Jeep and I'm gonna drive it up that red hill there, Ken for Eve, trying to be a redneck, which is funny, and flips his Jeep over, and then here comes the mechanic guy, and that's when they have their little interaction, and you can tell okay, this guy I thought he was dead meat, but then I realized no, wait a minute, you don't get Ken Free and just whack him like that unless you're Rob Zombie, and so you're going to do things with him. So the fact that he survives all the way to the end is amazing. I felt like the end of it is tacked on though, because I felt like he was definitely dead, and then they no, we got to bring him back, but.
Well, the gas station scene when the couple finally gets over to the gas station to fill up, because of course it's the last gas station for 100 miles, so you got to get gas there.
Yeah. The couple, Michelle and Ryan.
Yeah, you got a little peeping Tom there with the guy who runs the gas station there. Did you ever buy that Viggo Mortensen's character was a good guy?
Hell no.
And it was it just seems like. It's funny because you don't buy it in the movie, but then it's there's no way in real life that they would be that convincing to them is to pull off this charade that they do there, this big acting job. Because for people who haven't seen it, it's basically the two people are getting gas, and Viggo Mortensen wants to catch a ride because he's far away from home. He wants them to take this back road to his house.
Right.
And then the Peeping Tom gas station clerk ends up going crazy.
Tinker, I think is his name. Yeah.
He shoots at the cars. The couple gets away, and they make a comment like, "Oh my God, he offed the cowboy who was Viggo Mortensen." But it turns out it's all just a facade to somehow get them to go down the. I still don't even understand why they went down that road. It was like,
well, he told them, hey, here's how you want to get back to the highway. He gave them, and what he was giving them was the false directions. So he told them how to go, and the guy was like, no, I'm going to take the Cowboys route because it's better or whatever. And that's when they wind up. And
see, I took it that road wasn't on the map and that it was like something there. And I'm just thinking, I'm like, stick to the map. You know what I mean? It's like they normally don't destroy roads. They might add to it, but it's like, you got a map and it's going to tell you where to go. Like, but don't follow the crazy redneck guy at the gas station.
But see, what you're forgetting is that these people are stupid. And,
I know, but
and they are.
But again, though, if I'm not here to give life advice, then I shouldn't even be here at all. So the whole thing comes down to, it goes at a gas station and you talk to a guy who is basically a redneck dude.
Who's hitting on both of you at one time. Like, I thought he was hitting on the guy, too.
Maybe. I don't know.
Ryan, he looked at Ryan the same way he looked at Michelle. Viggo Mortensen, we have to say, like, this is obviously a very early role for him. He realizes what kind of movie he is in, and he has given it a lot. Like, if it was anybody else, this might have been even worse. But he's actually probably the best thing about this movie when it's said and done. And they were wise to give him a lot to do because clearly he had charisma and presence there. And like I say, he's playing this for all it can be.
Yeah, no, he's having a good time. Yeah, definitely. But as they get away from the gas station, they're going down the back road. And of course, that's where the trap's going to be laid. I brought up The Hills Have Eyes before, and it's kind of the same setup where it's like they're going to sit there and they run them down with a car and they throw like another corpse at them, like an animal.
It's a coyote,
yeah, like a coyote or whatever. And then they end up getting into a wreck with the dude from Dawn of the Dead.
Benny, is the character Ken Faree, because he's trying to get his Jeep over that red hill.
Yep, and that's when all the chaos ensues. That's when Leatherface comes out. He rips, starts chasing after him. There's a couple like people that appear. See, it's almost like a fever dream for like the middle part of this movie. Like I remember, like there was another guy that appeared, and I don't know what the hell happened to him. And then there was a female that appeared, and I know that she got killed.
Yeah, that was the sister of the first girl that got killed. She tries to escape again and gets caught in the bear traps again, and that's when they finally kill her because they don't need her anymore. They have fresher meat.
So it's just a standard body count person, which to me is like, then just put another person in, the Jeep, and then just have that person there. Because this whole thing, like in the beginning with the whole other people, and then she comes back just to get killed.
Well, I think
it's convoluted, especially for a stupid movie like this.
I think they're trying to establish that the Sawyer family, and they do go by that name. So I don't know that Leatherface has told them that's what their names are now or whatever.
Is it just a big family?
See, that's the thing. They never bother to explain how these people are related. Were they ever related to the others? Maybe these were cousins. We don't know, But the whole point is that Leatherface is this whole new group of people. They're just using the name again. And you've got Tex, which is Viggo Mortensen. He's clearly the most put together of them, so he can kind of be the front.
There's always one.
Yeah.
It seems like there's always one that's a little bit more put together.
You got the hook-handed Tink, which is funny. And he's sort of comic relief. You got Alfredo, Grandpa, hanging out there. You got Mama Sawyer out there, and you've got the little girl who is actually, I think she's credited as little girl, which is sort of weird. But yeah, I mean,
I like to see that creativity was not stopped when it came to the naming conventions of these characters.
They didn't really go with that kind of stuff in this movie.
I do like the grandmother with the voice box. Kind of reminds me of Ned from South Park. Are we going to take it that like maybe they don't eat? Because here's the big thing too: is like the first two movies, it was established that this family's cannibals. They capture people, torture them. Torture and makes the meat better, and then they go sit there and they sell it, and they win prizes for the best barbecue in Texas.
That was part 2, yeah.
Yep. And this one, do they establish?
They do. They talk about the eating because when they're hanging Ryan upside down, they talk about like, yeah, we can get a lot of meat off you once we fillet this piece of you and this. We'll cut your balls off. You ought to see what he can do with those, And they're talking about all this. Viggo's running all these lines.
Which just, like I said, though, it goes back to the beginning of the movie where they find that body pit. It's like, doesn't make sense. That those bodies, it would be skeletons. They'd be stripped,
and it should be
clean.
I agree. Yeah, so you wonder, like, have they been perfecting the method? I don't know, but they talk about, like, oh yeah, we'll have meat for months off of this one, you know. And he's not that big of a dude either. I'm like, he gets maybe $1.50. I'm like, man, you really get a lot off of that guy? Like Hannibal Lecter wouldn't even take that much of that dude.
He's not like a big fat guy where you're gonna get a lot of white meat off of it, or an athletic guy where you're gonna get some like good dark meat off of it.
Right?
But
Yeah,
he's like a dairy cow. It's like you don't get any meat off.
He's not Franklin or anything, you know. He's just, I mean,
you can tell I grew up in a farming area.
But they do go through a lot to get to those kills and things like that. Like the middle part of this movie where they're basically in the house the whole time, and we keep going between that and Benny, this guy.
What was this movie rated, by the way?
The movie was eventually rated R. It got an X to begin with, and they had to cut the hell out of it.
Would this be rated R today, or would this be a PG-13 movie? Because I do not remember a lot of gore in this.
Nick, this would be straight to Netflix, and nobody would give a damn.
That's true, but I'm just saying if we had to put a rating on it.
Oh, it would be an R for the way it is now, and probably for what they cut out of it, because we're in a post-Hostel and Saw world now.
But I'm just saying, if it was this cut, it's not gory.
This is probably PG-13 the way it's
It
cut.
is.
But except for the language. There's an incredible amount of language in this movie.
But even Marvel movies now are dropping an F-bomb there.
Yeah, but you get one. You get one for a PG-13.
I'm just saying, I mean, that's the whole thing is like, this movie has no gore in it at all. No. It's all implied, which sometimes that can be great. Like, you know, you watch something like Jaws, you know, the beginning, it gets that implied violence and gore, like that works great. Obviously, whoever this freaking director was is not Steven Spielberg, because I don't even know if this guy ever worked again, nor do I really care. But Jay will look it up as I talk. But it's one of those things where it's so much of it is implied in a bad way. It's not good in a slasher film sense. It's like, let's see some guts. Let's see some blood flying up. I mean, don't even have to go over the top, but just give me something here that's fun, like the Friday the 13th or Freddy movies. Even when those movies are bad, and the majority of them are bad, there's still some fun gore to be had in there where you can see the, you know, little tubes squirting the blood out. You know, it's obviously fake, but they have none of that in here.
This guy really works in the horror genre area, obviously. He's done Puppet Master 4 and 5, which I've seen, and he also has done Pumpkinhead 2 Blood Wings, which is a piece of art that one day we will have to consume. We probably won't do the whole series, but that one's worth doing because Punky Brewster's in it. And that's all I'll tell you. But yeah, they brought this guy in, though, because there were disputes during the process. They had different people coming in and out, directors and things like that. They finally brought this guy in to come in and finish it because the original director left because he was really not happy with what was going on, like the meddling of New Line during the production. And so they brought this guy in because he could do something quick on budget. He done Stepfather 2. And so like, we're bringing in a horror guy that can do sequels, that gets what we're about. He's going to turn it out. And he is the Brett Ratner of horror. You know, so
it's more like, is he like the Ron Howard? It's like, he's going to get it to us, and he's going to get it to us under budget, and maybe he's going to throw his brother in here.
I mean, well, you know, if he had a brother, he might have. I don't know if Jeff Burr has one or not. But, you know, look, he was going to turn it in. He's going to get it done on time. And he assembled what he could out of it. And what he put together, there's a lot more gore in it. Like the kill scene where they finally do kill the Ryan guy with the little girls involved in it. That's kind of fucked up the way they set all that up. And she's like, let me do this one, you know, and they have this whole like Rube Goldberg hammer trap to kill the poor guy. And you can see where it cuts. Like there was definitely a shot of the hammer going into the fake pumpkin head that they had built, you know, to splatter all over the floor, because the next scene is there's all this gore on the floor, but you don't know how it got there because we just cut way up. It's like a TV cut automatically.
Yeah, that's what this kind of really felt like. This felt like this would have been the cut that you'd watch on, you know, like USA if it was on like 8 o'clock. Like it's not the 11 o'clock showing, it's the 8 o'clock showing on USA back in the 90s.
No, totally. I mean, well, and let's talk about it for what it is too. They keep alternating between these two storylines because you've got the Benny character out there who they think they've disposed of, but he's going to survive. He's a survivalist. That's his thing. So obviously he's going to get involved in this at some point. And you've got Michelle, who's clearly the strong member of the group. And that's been a theme in these movies, is that there's one female that's really kind of the alpha.
She's kind of a dick, though, because like brother or boyfriend, whatever we're going to categorize.
I think we'll go with boyfriend, even though the ridiculous thing I was reading said they were brother and sister.
I still think it's boyfriend.
Yeah.
But he got caught in a bear trap when And she left him there.
I know.
She was just like, all right, screw you guys. And I know that's always like the old saying, like, if you ever go camping and there's bear, you're worried about a bear, all you got to do is make sure you're faster than the guy next to you.
She lives that. That's true.
You don't have to outrun the bear. You just have to outrun the guy next to you. And if he's caught in a bear trap, even better. And that's what happened. Like, I was watching this and I'm like, as far as an effort to free him, that was one of the most pathetic. Like, she didn't even try it.
And that was kind of...
I don't even think she touched it. She, like, went over there and it's kind of like, all right, see you later, Bob. And she ran out.
Oh, well, she bailed on Ryan pretty quick because I think she knew, too. Like, she was also being chased by an idiot with a chainsaw. I mean, that does speed up your timeline a little bit.
I know, but it's still, like, you can still give it an effort.
Yeah.
And, like, come away, like, at least feeling good about yourself. Like, you know what? Dude got cut in half, but I tried.
Well, I mean, and that's
she can't even say that.
Well, see, and that's when they try to do this big reveal because Tex shows up and she's like, "Oh, thank God you're here," and he's like, "Oh yeah, but I'm evil too," or whatever bad accent Dio's trying to do. And I'm sitting there laughing, going like, "Man, if we didn't see that coming from 100,000 miles away."
Was that like in Game of Thrones when Bolton, completely switched on the Starks and everything? Were you shocked? Were you just like, oh my God, I can't believe that he's actually bad? He was bad this
everyone
entire time?
did. Well, I mean, as the whatever the other character, Littlefinger one says, "I did tell you I would betray you." So I mean, it's almost that obvious, but not nearly with as much flourish as that.
Yeah, he was twisting his mustache the entire time.
Yeah, Vigo didn't have one in this movie, but yeah, we see the decomposed grandpa who's actually dead. But, like, this time, like, he's always kind of looked dead. He's legitimately dead. They just keep, like, animating him.
I do love the blood vomit, like, stain going down his head.
Yeah.
Like,
it's like they're feeding him blood, through a tube, but it's just going nowhere. Because he's a corpse. So.
But, of course, yeah, we gotta have the kitchen scene, the dinner scene, whatever you want to call it.
But boy, did it not just, like, reek of... So let's talk about it. The first one is a horrific scene. Whether it scares you or not is not the
I
point.
laughed at it.
But it's horrific to think about, like, just the insane nature of it. And it is insane. It's macabre. The second one is a joke, and it's played like a joke. It is a big parody of itself.
I think you need to come to a couple of my old family Thanksgiving dinners, man. This thing's going to be so shocking to you.
This one is trying to be something that it is hilariously not. It is not remotely, like, terrifying. It is not disturbing. It feels like the third generation cover of a song that wasn't that good to begin with.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like even the way the scene is like lit and just the way the sets are.
It's cheap as hell. Look, they can talk about the $2 million budget. They didn't spend it on anything in the set.
No. It's like, like I said, anytime I go driving around the backcountry roads, you always come across like an abandoned home or, a couple of them. Like that's what it looks like. It looks like they just went into an abandoned home, set up a camera in there, and that's what it was. Like there was no like at all atmosphere throughout this entire movie. It just was dark when they were outside. It was overlit when they were in the kitchen. It was just very much amateur hour. And I'm seeing that like more and more I'm understanding why this movie is just like, it's something that's just never talked about.
Well, it wasn't even overlit either. It was shot with like red lamps, like you get from Spencer's or something. Like I felt like I was walking in a Hot Topic or something. Like
Walmart.
maybe that's just how it transfers when it looks. I mean, goodness knows what generation of this I was watching that was streaming where I watched it, but I don't know. It didn't look good. And that's the thing is they like consulted with like Tom Savini and all those people. They got effects people to work on this thing, but it doesn't look like it. And at least the last time they put something into the effects. They were ridiculous, but they put something in it. They go with this chainsaw thing though because
there was a fun look in the second one. There was. Like I said, I guess just more and more I'm watching stuff. It's just like the cinematography and lighting it is so important to the storytelling. And, that second one, it had that weird, almost like grunge feel to it.
Well, it's because Tobe Hooper knows how to shoot a movie. Like he may not be the most accomplished director of all time, but he knows how to set up a scene and shoot.
He understands the basics.
He has film grammar. He knows what he's doing. These people did not, and they were clearly working against a deadline because New Line was notorious for we're releasing this now. I mean, they shot the damn trailer before they even had a movie, and so it was coming out when they were going to put it out, and they still had to delay it even after that. But they were working through all this stuff, and it just feels like they're kind of trying to do this whole dinner thing, and they're trying to disturb you with the whole little girl and all this. And Leatherface is finally going to kill Michelle because they've given him a new saw, this golden crested chainsaw saw his family written down the blade. It felt like the chainsaw went on Pimp My Ride or something. Like, this is the most ridiculous looking thing you can see.
They say like Exhibit's going to come up and go, "Yo, dog, just got you a new chainsaw
with the chainsaw on it." Yeah,
we know how much important family is to you, so we got that engraved, man.
Exactly. That would make this movie twice as entertaining.
And he's got to do the laugh at the end, like,
yeah. No, look, that would be perfect if they had done that. But it's not played that way at all. It's this serious thing, and he's but yeah, we got to talk about Leatherface in this movie though, because they go back to something of this. They go back to the cross-dressing bit of it again, and they also go back to the fact that he's like this simpleton who's trying to learn because he's got this speaking spell, and it shows him like this picture of a person's head, and he's supposed to type in what is this head, and he keeps going food. Try again. Food. Try again. And he gets his Walkman that he stole off some guy thrown in the fire, and he beats the crap out of Tinker for it. You know, I mean, you're supposed to feel for the guy. It was like, oh, he's just this overgrown child. But that's not really how he played in the first one, right? Like he was mentally damaged, but he wasn't simple. He wasn't Simple Jack.
No. And that's the whole thing too, is like, we get that with the Jason movies where it's, you know, he's a mountain man or whatever, but he's mentally disabled. And it's, you know, it just seems like it's just kind of it's a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy when it comes to that stuff. And it's just, to me, I'm just like, I like him being more of a secret and just kind of like not really understanding him, just more of like a force of nature. But actually, I think with Leatherface, wouldn't it be more frightening if you actually like all of a sudden you start talking to this guy and he starts like, you know, quoting Shakespeare and knows Latin, and it's just like, holy shit, man.
If he did the Vinnie Jones and gone in 60 seconds, like, if his scars brought us a clarity in life.
Like, he just referenced Nietzsche, man. It's like, man, this guy's, you know,
I didn't know you knew how to read, man.
I think that would be more frightening. It's like sitting there going like, oh, well, he's mentally disabled and that's why he's like that. It's like, if it came out, it's like, no, this dude's like a scholar, but he's just fucked up. Like, I mean, go down that route.
Let's talk about the other thing. This movie is called Leatherface. And he is barely in it, Nick. Like, this movie is really about Tex, and it's not Leatherface. He's not a big part of it.
No, he's not. It's just, I don't know. It's just, it's weird. But, you know, after the dinner scene ends, I mean, or during it, I mean, of course we get, you know, what's his name? Benny, you know, he has the gun and he starts shooting into the kitchen.
The endless ammo of this gun, by the way, totally something out of like Commando 80s or something. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is like, even like when we, you know, me and you both have shotguns together and stuff like that. It's always funny when you watch these movies and like they're shooting it off and you're like, you'd be deaf, you'd be on the ground screaming with blood coming out of your ears. So, but that's with 90% of the movies that have guns. But
yeah.
The whole thing is like, it's so ridiculous because like one guy gets his ears shot off.
That's Tinker, yeah. Anna gets shot. The old woman with the voice box thing, she gets shot in the face. And Grandpa gets shot, so he bleeds out, but he's already dead.
Yeah, it's like powder inside of him or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's supposed to be a joke, is that he blows into dust, you know?
Yeah, ha. So she gets away, and, you know, there's a little bit of a chase, and of course, you know, we get a little bit of final action scenes between Leatherface. Tex ends up getting killed.
Well, let's talk about how Benny and Tex go down though. So because that's a good fight. Like, I'll give it that. Kim Foree and Viggo Mortensen have a great fight by that truck, and it's set up. You know, it's a cheesy setup when he pops the gas tank open, and you're like, you know what's going to happen. He's eventually going to throw like fire at it and yippee-ki-yay it.
Chekhov's gasoline.
You're right, but it's a good fight. Like, I will give those guys a credit. Like Kim Foree and Viggo Mortensen and their stunt doubles stage a good fight. And when we light Tex on fire and he blows up, I'm like, okay, yeah, he sort of deserved that. He deserved to burn in hell before he burns in hell.
Well, you got to off him. You got to get rid of him, and that's how he goes down. And then of course you got Leatherface running after, you know, our main heroine. It goes through the water and everything.
Well, yeah, didn't you think Benny got killed though? Because it looks like he takes the saw so Michelle can escape, and he's fighting with Leatherface on it, and Leatherface like cuts him up under the water. Like, I thought he was dead.
No, he did die, but they went back and did reshoots because audience test scores, and I did read this on IMDb, which it does make sense. It says that the audience really liked them, so they pulled a Jaws 4 and basically were like, hey, Mario Van Peebles is alive, man. And it's
only in certain cuts is that true.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with him. It's like guy from Dawn of the Dead. He's alive in the end, and he's got the car.
And he barely got a scar on his head. No, it
doesn't even make any sense for where he was supposedly getting chopped up either. It's like,
right. Well, continuity aside, it actually like was a neat thing for him to. He didn't know this woman from anybody, but that he's such a macho guy. He's like, I'm not going to let you kill her. She's going to get away because she's clearly on the run, and he takes it from Leatherface. But,
you know what? As much as I didn't like Alien 3, freaking Rock did it much, much better in that movie.
This is true.
Get out of there.
You need to watch that movie again. It's better than you think it is. But I like that.
Thank you, Alien Covenant.
Yeah, well, this is what it does to you. But I like how Michelle apparently kills Leatherface as part of this. But he's obviously not dead. But you know, you think he's dead because this is what happens in all these movies. What I love is that we get a coda at the end, though. She finds the pickup truck of the Alfredo guy, the creepy guy from the gas station at the beginning. Of course, he's still there. And she's able to get the shotgun away from him, though, as he's, saying, "Oh, what are you going to do with that? You probably don't even know to do that." And I love that she does the thing that no horror character does. She pulls the friggin' trigger and blows him away. Like I was like, okay, that's like the smartest thing you've done this entire movie, Michelle.
Yeah, normally it would be they would hold the gun up and then they would just wait too long and the guy would be able to snatch it and try to fight it, or something like that. Or even the old cliche where maybe they do pull the trigger, but it was like, it was empty the whole time, something like that. So, yeah, she kills him. And
yeah, but what is funny is that Benny shows up to aid in that. They drive off in the truck together just as Leatherface is revving that chainsaw up behind them, limping and going to do the dance, and then we just get away. And it's such a thud ending.
It's just a fun movie.
I mean, beyond that, though, and I know it's hard to say this because you've seen so many of these things now, but is there anything remotely like frightening or terrifying about any of this?
I wouldn't even go and bring it in that. Is there anything memorable? Like, is there one scene in here that's like, you know what? It's memorable, even in a bad sense of the word. Like you can go back and like watch like, what was it, like Friday the 13th Part 4, and it's like,
well, that movie's awesome compared to this.
Oh yeah, but I'm just saying, like, you had a kill where it's like, the weightlifter girl gets her arms chopped off and then turns into a cockroach. It's so stupid.
That would be Nightmare on Elm Street 4 you're talking about.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. But I'm just saying that.
But like, the good new line, you're in the same thing.
Yeah, sorry. It's it all blends together for me. But you know what I mean? It's like you look at that and it's like so utterly ridiculous, but you remember that.
Yeah, exactly, because it's a great effect and it's well put together.
Again, it's so bad it's good, and there's nothing like that here. It's milk toast. It's a passing fart in church. I mean, you kind of look at it and you're just like, that happened, and you're like, yeah, you just go on. I mean, that's just what it is, and I think that's its biggest sin is that it's neither so bad it's memorable, or it has anything in there that it's like have a couple like good scenes where where you come back and watch that, even if it's just to pull them up on YouTube. Kind of like, I was watching Jackass 4 the other day. Is every skit in there good? No, but there's a couple that on YouTube that you go back and watch because they're funny. And it's like, there's nothing like that. There's no like little like one cool death scene there where it's like, you know what? That was pretty cool how they pulled that off because it's so edited to hell.
Well, I don't even think if you put back in anything that they cut out of it, that you had anything here. That's what I would premise, is that the entire idea here is that you name this movie Leatherface because at the time the rage is we're going to really like push the killer, right? The problem is the Leatherface character was never the lead dog of all of this anyway, and every time they reinvent him, it gets worse. It's like it's a worse copy of a copy.
Well, you remember when I brought up Hellraiser? It's very much like that. It's like Pinhead was not the bad guy in the first two. It was only when they started to bring him as a focus and Part 3 and stuff where it was like, you're really kind of missing the point of what this character was. And I think it's a lot to be said about the same thing with Leatherface.
I mean, I agree. Well, we're at the part of the podcast where it's time to do the most obvious thing tonight is the popcorn ratings and final thoughts and recommendations. So what are yours for Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3?
Well, I gave the first two medium popcorns. So I cannot give this one a medium popcorn because the first two were much better movies. And that's not saying a lot, but it's a small popcorn. Its biggest sin is that it's forgettable. There's nothing in here that's memorable. Even like Viggo Mortensen, as far as how his character goes, it's when you compare it to guys like Chop Shop, Chop Hop, whatever.
Chop Top,
sure. And from Part 2 is like, you know what? There was some fun to be had there. The picking, heating up the clothes hanger and picking at his head and stuff like that. Like that's stuff that you remember. Like it's just so milquetoast that I just can't give it anything more than a small popcorn.
It's not only a small popcorn, it's a small burnt popcorn. It's a mistake. Like a complete and total failure to do anything remotely interesting. It's just a cash grab. And New Line was trying to cash in. And look, every studio does this, so I'm not going to blame them for it. But they were trying to cash in on the horror craze. They just picked the worst time to do it, and they picked a terrible way of going. Because at this point, you got to remember, Freddy had done The Dream Child, which was part 5, which is bad, and then which may have been the one you were referencing with the cockroach kill night. I think
it could be. I don't know.
And Friday the 13th had done like Jason Goes to Manhattan, which was a complete disaster. And it's fun to watch now because it's ridiculous, but it's not. It wasn't any good at the time. Halloween had done Halloween 5, which is bad, and so I mean, it was all just kind of falling apart at that point. And we were in Chucky Land, Leprechaun Land, and then like you mentioned before, Hellraiser 3 was right around the corner, which was a complete disaster too. So you had people trying to turn out a product that had no idea of what really made any of it work to begin with. And that's the problem with this movie is, like you say, it has nothing memorable about it. It's the most memorable thing. It has nothing to do with the movie. It's the trailer. And what they try to push forward doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't work at all. So it's a small burnt popcorn. It's the worst thing we've watched in the series so far. It won't be the worst one of all because we got a ways to go. But this is bad. It's a wonder they ever did another one. Like, that's the truth. And I say that knowing how studios work, and particularly horror making studios work. But really, like, I'm surprised anybody ever bothered with it again after this, because this is such a bad departure from the last one. And Tobe Hooper, to his credit, said, I told you this is why you didn't do sequels to this, because there really wasn't one. And he, so far, had the definitive idea of what to do with it. But yeah, we are done with Leatherface Texas Chainsaw 3, but oh, Nick, they've made many more. And the next one...
What did you get me into? This is supposed to be my, triumphant return to the podcast.
This was your idea, so just remember that.
I don't remember this conversation.
Well, much like this movie, it has erased itself from your brain. But folks,
it all connects.
Yes, but speaking of connecting, hey, you need to connect with this podcast. 300 plus episodes in the can already for you out there. Filmstrippodcast.com. You'll find our anchor distribution site. We're on Apple, Google, Spotify, all the places you can find a pod. We are there. Follow the show on social media at FilmstripPod. Connect with us there, and we appreciate the support. So until next time, for Nick, I'm Jay. Thank you for listening to Filmstrip.
Boom.
Thank you for listening to Filmstrip. You can find more episodes on our website, filmstrippodcast.com. The Filmstrip theme music is produced and performed by Frozen Lake 121. All content used or discussed in these podcast episodes is the property of the respective owners and used under the Fair Use Act, Section 504, C2, Title 17.